Welcome to Disruption Dialogues Podcast Season 2. Listen to the influential leaders and trailblazers from around the world as they share invaluable insights to navigating the fifth industrial revolution.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Disruption Dialogues Season 2. I'm your host, Aashish Mehra. I'm the Chief Research Officer at MarketsandMarkets. And today we're diving into a particularly special episode as we engage with three senior leaders from Bayer Crop Science to explore the transformative impact they've made on smallholder farmers around the world. As a quick background, there are nearly 550 resilient smallholder farmers who are the backbone of global food security, producing much of the food that we all consume. Yet they remain amongst the most vulnerable, facing challenges which hinder their own growth potential. In recognizing the importance, Bayer has been working closely with smallholder farmers worldwide, driving meaningful change and creating a lasting impact. And that's what we will talk about today. Now, to truly empower these farmers, Bayer first focused on understanding their unique needs, their challenges, and their aspirations. Thereafter, Bayer built solutions to the specific context of these farmers to create programs that could uplift livelihoods, foster sustainability, and support communities. These initiatives have been monitored through individual surveys and have demonstrated measurable positive impact on farmers' lives and the ecosystems that they depend on. In today's episode, we will be speaking with Bayer's leaders to unpack how these initiatives are creating impact across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So with that background, folks, let's dive straight in. I'd like to request our speakers to briefly introduce themselves. Tibu, Ravi, and Collins, over to you guys.
So thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Jose Tiburcio, better known as Tibu, and I am the lead for smallholder farmers in LATAM, based in Mexico City.
Okay, thanks, Tibu, and hi Ashish. Good evening to you. And first of all, warm greetings to all our listeners, your listeners, and to my fellow co-panelists. I am Ravi, based out of headquarters of Bayer Crop Science in Thane, and I lead the Better Life farming effort, which comes under the smallholder farming vertical for India and Bangladesh. Very glad to be here and look forward to this discussion.
Thank you, Ravi. Collins?
Greetings to all. My name is Collins Juma. I am based out of Nairobi, Kenya. Leading here the team of smallholder growers around the sub-Saharan Africa. I am in charge of the unit portfolio lead, and I'm looking forward for the interactive discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks all. So, let's set the stage with some context building for our audience. So smallholder farmers obviously face a myriad of challenges, whether it's about climate change, pest control, market access, and so on. Could you please briefly talk about what these challenges are and highlight the specific initiatives that Bayer is implementing in your regions to overcome these using localized solutions? Tibu, why don't we start with you?
Of course, thank you very much. So the first thing I want to notice is that, as you mentioned, there are many smallholder farmers around the world. There are over 550 million of them, and they are all over the place. No? So the first thing we need to notice is that they are not the same in every region. So our task is to really understand their needs, their perspective, their point of view, and from there, we need to create value for them. So it is a very difficult challenge to understand every single small segment of smallholder farmers and try to help them to solve their problems. And I will use my example of DKsilos in Mexico and Honduras, Central America, in order to give you an example. No? One set of these smallholder farmers around the world are the cattle ranchers, the small cattle ranchers that are located mainly in the tropical areas from Southeast Mexico all the way down to Central America and part of the Andean countries. These small ranchers, they normally have a certain number of animals and they are dedicated to produce milk. The milk is the basis of their income for their families, and occasionally they can sell some steer and they can sell some animals to get an incremental profit for their families. The point is that they are not well prepared because they are not technified ranchers. They are basically based on feeding their cows with pastures. So normally what they do is they have one animal per hectare, they open the gate and they leave the animals to eat grass all year long. No? The problem comes when the dry season arrives. Dry season in Mexico starts mid-November and it goes all the way to the end of March. Some cases, like last year, all the way to May. So they have 4 to 5 to 6 months without rain. And as you know, no rain, no grass, no feed. No? So that's when they start to struggle to feed their animals. So what they do during that period is they have to move the herd to a different place where there is still grass available, or they have to find an alternative source of feed for the cows. They have to buy different types of feed, and they have to struggle to maintain the cows. The other thing that happens is that during that period, the cows start to produce less milk because they are not well fed. So if you don't feed the cow, they will reduce the amount of milk they are producing. They get more sick. They get more health issues. So that's a very struggle pain for them. So what we did in Bayer was, how can we develop something to help them to solve that pain? And that's when we create our hypothesis of why don't we teach the ranchers to plant corn during the rainy season and then perform corn silage, which is a way to preserve the feed in their ranch, so they can have enough material to feed their cows during the dry season. That was the hypothesis. In order to do that, we need to teach the ranchers to plant corn, to take care of the corn, to perform the silage, to give them access to the machinery that they need to perform this process of silage, and to teach them all the techniques to preserve the feed in the ranchers at a good level. So that was a whole process that we need to go with them, and that's why we create a holistic solution in which we are giving them advice with technical advisors in agronomies in order to plant the corn, to perform the right growth of the crop. And then we are providing the machinery so they can perform the silage, and we are giving them technical training so they can have, at the end of the day, enough material to feed their animals when the dry season arrives. With that, what we are doing is we are solving an actual problem that they have, and we are providing today assistance to more than 50,000 ranchers across Latin America. We are feeding over 800,000 cows in this region, and the value creation for them is very good because we are actually solving a pain point that they have. No? So that's a little bit what we're trying to do, and that's an example that we have in Latin America.
That is super. Thank you so much, Tibu. Ravi, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Ashish. So, Ashish, as you rightly said in the beginning, right, and Tibu also reiterated that smallholders are the backbone for the global food security, right? And they are actually large in number, around 550 million across the globe. Like in India itself, we have around 150 million smallholder farmers in India, right? And they are quite a vulnerable group, right? With low crop yield, insufficient income, which is primarily because they don't have access to good quality inputs. They don't have access to trusted advisory. They have limited credit facility, and of course they don't have access to good market linkage solution, right? And all these things put together, these challenges get very aggravated when, because of the climate risk, because they have a very small piece of land, right? See, as we embarked on this journey of to support the small holders, we had three clear learnings over a period of time, right? The first is that a sales specific approach will not work with this group. Rather, we need to stay with the farmer for the entire season so that the entire holistic solution can be given to them and not a very product specific solution has to be given. Second learning was that this endeavor is such big endeavor that it is not possible for any one company to undertake it. Rather, a partnership based approach is more relevant to bring in required expertise. And third was that it has to be an entrepreneur driven ecosystem so that localized capacity can be developed to serve the farmer nearby. And that's how better life farming came into existence, right? So we call better life farming as BLF in short, and I will be using the word BLF in most of our conversation. So BLF is an alliance which consists of private and public partner working together to improve the livelihood of rural smallholder and their communities. This alliance was founded in 2018 by Bayer and then International Financial Corporation, which is a part of World Bank Group, and third Netafim, which is a micro irrigation company. Now, starting from India in 2018, now we have presence in multiple countries across the globe and across the continent. Like in Asia, apart from India, we have presence in Bangladesh, Indonesia, China, and Vietnam. In Africa, we have presence in Ivory Coast and Tanzania. And even in Latin America, we have presence in Honduras and Mexico. Now, BLF activities are targeted to facilitate the increase in farmer income, promoting entrepreneurship, driving sustainable agriculture practices, and agriculture capability building in rural areas. And all these activities are being pursued through BLF acting as a last mile delivery solution to provide rural farmer with access to high quality agriculture input, services, and training needed to enable them for the capacity building. BLF also have a very special focus on creating opportunities for women through gender smart ecosystem to bring more female in decision making role in agriculture, right? As far as numbers goes, we have now more than 2,700 centers across the globe, out of which more than 300 are run by women entrepreneurs. We work with more than 25 plus local and global partners to deliver our solution, and around 1 million smallholder farmers are associated with us. Over to you, Aashish.
It's really impressive. Thank you very much, Ravi. Colin, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, so as you rightly put, Aashish, it's 550 million smallholder farmers, and if I scale down that to Africa, we are talking about 33 million smallholder growers existing in the sub-Saharan Africa, and these farmers are faced with a myriad of challenges. Poor agronomy, climate change, pests and diseases, lack of information, lack of adequate resources, all this. Now, with all these challenges, we appreciate as a company, and Ravi has rightly put it, we are not the only one, but we appreciate as a company that we have solutions that we can provide. And what are the solutions that we are doing here in Africa? We have the innovations that we have brought to the growers, and we will look at the varieties as vegetable seeds which we've brought, the varieties that help contribute to answering to the challenges that farmers are facing. We have the Centers of Excellence, and acronym, the abbreviation is COEs. The Centers of Excellence, what are they doing? They are helping provide the agronomic knowledge and tools to the farmers. How? We open them near the farmers, where the farmers' fields are, so farmers can walk in and learn and get information that is a big gap to the smallholder grower here in Africa. So we have the solutions. We bring these solutions and teach the growers how to get the maximum out of the solutions, the innovations that Bayer Vegetable Seeds has. And with the products that we've sold, we've launched into the Africa market, particularly here in Kenya, Ansal product, coupled with what we are doing in disseminating the information and the knowledge that we have. We've seen a great impact that we will be sharing as we go by into the smallholder farming space here in Kenya. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ravi.
Thank you so much, Collins, for that background. So let's talk a bit about the study. I understand that you've been doing this for many years. You've conducted independent research from 2022 till 2024 to assess the impact of various initiatives, whether they are in India or in Kenya or in Mexico. Could you tell us a bit more about why these studies were conducted and how you're really leveraging the findings?
Of course, let me start by saying that we at Bayer have a commitment of reaching 100 million smallholder farmers by the year 2030. And the idea of reaching is to improve their lives. So we have a very aggressive target of reaching this 100 million by the year 2030. And we decided to engage with 60decibel, which is a third-party company that is actually measuring the impact that our projects and our initiatives are having with the farmers. Because from our point of view, the acid test is to really ask them and to see what are their perceptions from the job we are doing with them every day. So we really need to measure the impact and to test our hypothesis, because what we're doing is, with the best intention, we are developing this example that we already discussed. But the idea was to really understand if these projects we are having an actual impact in their lives. And that we engage with this third-party company. In the case of DKsilos, which is the initiative related to with the ranchers, with the milk production, what we really want to know is if the training that we were giving them was enough, was clear, if the ranchers were perceiving that they are better prepared to face climate change's impacts, if they now have better productivity, if they have better incomes, if at the end they have a better quality of life, and even though we are asking them if they feel less stress because of the impacts of the climate change. So fortunately, what the studies has shown is that the majority of the ranchers are feeling that they are learning many things that they didn't know, that they are having a technical advisor that they found value for them, that they have more productivity now, that the cost of feeding their cows is reducing, that they have a better income, they have increased the quantity of milk they are producing and delivering to the industry, and at the end, they are having a better income and a better quality of life because they are engaged with the casinos. So for us, that was the real acid test to know if what we were doing on the field has a real impact in their lives.
Thank you so much, Tibu. So I think one of the things that you mentioned is farmer empowerment, which I guess is at the heart of Bayer's mission. Could you talk a bit about how have your initiatives increased empowerment, increased farmers' confidence, and improved their decision making?
Sure. Let me answer this from the better life farming perspective. Yeah. So, Ashish, I think the entire Better Life Farming program is oriented toward empowering the end stakeholder, which is basically the farmers and the agri-entrepreneurs, right? I would like to answer this in two parts. One is for the entire program, and secondly, very specific to our female stakeholders also, because they form an important part of our entire program, right? The first thing, and I'm just continuing from the Tibu's earlier point, that we believe that each and everything that we do should be measured so that we know and we can assess where to do intervention at the right time and the right way, right? And we can move the related metric upward, like the 60 decibel research, which has clearly shown in terms of empowerment that around 89% of the farmers say BLF put their interest first, and the key motivating factor for them to join the program were the physical BLF centers, which give them convenience and trustworthiness. Second such metric was that 88% of the farmers whom we interviewed at 60 decibel research, that they have gained more confidence to invest in agriculture, which was around 88% of the farmers said, which at the baseline, which was around 70%. So there was increase of 18% of the farmers who had more confidence now after getting attached to BLF program, right? So what I want to say is the entire model of having a BLF center in the farmer vicinity, which is run by an agri entrepreneur, create convenience and trustworthiness amongst the farmers, which create a lot of empowerment. It has created employment opportunities for local communities in the form of agri entrepreneurship. And there are other local staff also who run this program for BLF, whom we call agri consultants, right? Most of them are qualified agri graduates and are equipped with BLF technical guidance, and hence act as a one-point source of information for both farmers and agri entrepreneur, right? So both agri entrepreneur and agri consultant serve as a role model in their respective local community and create a lot of trustworthiness amongst the farmers. Second, the kind of holistic solution orientation which we have to provide the value added services, which is end to end, and give access to quality input, which are high quality agri consultancy, option to avail credit facility, provision to sell their end produce at the end of the season through various market linkages, and model farming knowledge at BLF Center, which is acting as a one-stop shop, right? So all this has created farmer confidence and improved decision making for the farmer. Coming to the second part, where I want to talk about the female stakeholder. As a program, we have very special focus on empowerment of women, right? Like I said, we have more than now 300 plus women run BLF centers who are running this center successfully across the globe. We call it a gender smart ecosystem, where typically we reach out to about 15 to 20% of female farmers through a normal BLF center in India. But when that center is run by a woman agri entrepreneur, we reach to 30 to 35% of women in that area if it is run by a woman, right? So that's a great boost in number when women comes into picture. So we support this woman agri entrepreneur who are running this BLF center through specially appointed women agri consultant, right? Who do a lot of capacity building to these specific women agri entrepreneur, and also to the women farmer who are associated with this women run agri entrepreneur. And I can say with real proud and happiness that these women agri entrepreneurs are doing great in their journey, and also the women farmer associated with these centers are reaping immense benefit, not only in terms of agriculture productivity but also in terms of enhanced agriculture income.
That's wonderful, Ravi. Ravi, just continuing on this particular BLF program, could you also talk a little bit about how you're helping build capacity? What are the kind of specific training modules that you're providing to farmers under the BLF program, and how are these trainings really empowering them to take greater control of farming practices and so on?
Okay, Asif, that's a great question, and very frankly, this is the main crux of what we do. The program has been designed to be asset light and knowledge heavy from the beginning, right? The key to entire program is to keep doing this capacity building of first our agri entrepreneur and secondly to our farmer continuously, right? So the first focus of our capacity building as a first point of intervention are our agri entrepreneur. The reason to focus here is to create local strong source of knowledge, right, for farmer. It's like train the trainer concept, right? The higher our A is capable, they would be able to reach maximum farmer and offer right solution, right? Our entrepreneur goes through a customized 7 days classroom agri entrepreneur program, which is developed by IFC. The training focuses on how to run a small enterprises, what is cash flow, credit, P&L, the taxes, the local taxes and its implication, how to approach a customer, what is customer service on the business side. And on the other side, we provide a lot of technical knowledge for crops in their respective area, right? So a lot of good agriculture practice, which we call gap trainings, happens there. The second type of training to them is bi-monthly refresher and crop advisory training, right? Because their main source of income is sales of agri input, right? And hence a refresher training on agri input and crop problems, disease problem, what kind of input should be used is something which is a must, which we give to the agri entrepreneur, and it is done in support of the BLF partner, right? All those product training are given to this, and so that recommendation can to the farmer reaches as per requirement. The second important kind of training which we give to the farmers, right? This is basically a on-field training which happens at model plot. Now, what is a model plot? So model plot is a live agriculture plot, typically of the size of 0.5 to 1 acre, where live demonstration of actual crop cultivation is shown during the crop cycle. There we use the right input and right crop advisory. The farmers are invited to the model plot at various crop stages, like during land preparation, sowing of seeds, spraying, disease prediction, and even during harvesting, right? Farmers are given live demo so that they can see it and then believe it, and then only they go and implement on their field, right? So they are given a practical training on good agriculture practices, safe use application of agri input, and other stewardship trainings. uh, the second part is of the training of farmer is that there are agri consultant, which I talked about. So they do fortnightly or monthly meetings in village with the group of farmer depending on crop season to advise on the crop requirement. And lastly, the agri entrepreneurs serve as nearby ready source to the farmer for ad hoc advice at the center if farmer required so, right? So what we have noticed, just to bring metrics here also in my answer, that we have seen noticeable training adoption rate. Around 93% of farmers have confirmed that they apply all or most of the training content to their daily field practices, right? Versus 57% at the baseline. So there was a significant improvement in the training adoption by the farmers who are associated with BLF center. Second, the trained farmer who are applying these trained know-how, they have confirmed that they have significantly more positive impact on the production and income, right? So around 94% of the farmer who are associated with the better life farming ecosystem has reported increase in their income versus 70% of the farmer who were not associated with the better life farming ecosystem, right? So the whole focus on capability building is primarily a most important reason why this confidence of the farmer has improved, and we have been able to show consistent increase in farmer productivity, farmer increase in income. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ravi. Collins, I wanted to come to the initiative you spoke about in Kenya, Ansal tomatoes. Could you tell us a bit about how that has helped farmers tackle, challenges like drought or extreme weather?
Well, thank you, Aashish, for the question. And I will continue from where my two colleagues have stopped. If you look at Africa right now and Kenya, there is an increasing change of climate. We appreciate that. We can see there is flash floods, there is drought that is happening, longer droughts, and we have very heavy rains. So we need solutions that can also be able to deal with this. And this is the same grower who is really going through, as I mentioned earlier, challenges of resources, agronomy. So first with this, we need products and solutions that help cushion him. And if I may zoom into Ansal, this is a variety that when it was launched in Kenya in 2019, it really brought a lot of relief to the growers. And why do I say that? Its response to bacterial wilt, Ralstonia, is very good. It's very resistant to Ralstonia, coupled with resistance to tomato leaf curl virus, what we abbreviated as TY. And it's very good under the heat. So you can grow it under the heat stress. Its response to heat is very good. These are the challenges that farmers are facing through and through. And how do we get solutions? Now, with those resistances coupled with the high yields, we're talking about a variety that can give you 35 tons per acre. We are talking about a variety that gives you uniform fruits from the time you start harvesting to the time you stop harvesting. And we are talking about 3 to 4 months of harvest. We are talking about a variety whose firmness of fruit you can be able to ship 500 kms from where you are harvesting without necessarily worrying about my fruits will go bad, and for the keeping quality of over 3 weeks. So we are talking about a variety that has really given cushion to the growers that when you harvest indeed, or if the weather is bad today and we have flash floods, you can wait in the field until maybe 3-4 days when the roads open up and the floods clear away, you can still come and harvest. Did we know this? As my colleagues reiterated earlier, we did a 60 decibel survey, and we found that farmers appreciated, 52% of the growers appreciated the impact that Ansal has had on their lives. 90% of the growers have appreciated that indeed there has been climate shocks. And what I can say is that we have had moments where farmers have completely abandoned farming altogether because of the climate shocks. Were it not for varieties like Ansal, which have really helped cushion that. And from the study, out of the baseline that was done, 40% of the farmers that 90% of the farmers that were suffered from climate shocks, 40% of those were planting Ansal and did not walk away from farming. So that really shows the positivity of the product we are talking about and what it has created to the market. When we compare with the baseline study of 80%, 90% of those growers said they have had very positive impact, very positive farming with low stress, courtesy of the Ansal variety that they were growing. So we look at the firmness, we look at the yield, we look at the response to distance of travel for them to be able to sell. And we're talking about growers planting in Kenya and selling as far as Sudan, South Sudan, which is thousands of kilometers from here. So if that grower is getting solutions from Ansal, we really are happy. And this study really helped us to inform us of what the grower is really looking for and where to improve. So, yeah.
That's fascinating, Collins. Could you also talk a bit about what was the economic and social impact on the farmers as a consequence of adopting Ansal variety?
Thank you. That's a very nice question, Aashish. And I will, before I go even to the specifics, I remember there's a time I was walking into the farms, then you could see trucks named after varieties. And I asked the grower, what motivates you to name, or even buildings? And they gave me very fascinating stories around how our varieties and our innovations here in Bear have helped them to change their lifestyles. And here in Kenya, there are buildings that are named after varieties. I will not go into names after Bear varieties that we plant. We have trucks that farmers call them by Ansal variety because they probably were able to sell maybe tons of the produce and bought a truck, and they call it by that variety. They associate their kids going to schools to that. And when we ran a 60 decibel survey, we realized that 90% of the growers appreciated the boost they got from just planting Ansal. And how? Imagine you are a grower and there is the pests and diseases that are challenging you. So you have a variety that is resistant to pests, to viral diseases and to bacterial wilt, meaning you will not use a lot of chemicals. That is of great environmental impact because you're saving the environment of the overuse of chemicals just to kill or control vectors. So this is a variety that is helping you to do that. And in as much as you're saving the environment, you are also saving yourself, or you are saving yourself the cost of farming. So you're having some money that you're saving. And this is something that growers really appreciate a lot. How much am I saving? The return on investment is high because you are not using a lot of chemicals to control the viral diseases, to control the fungal diseases, to control the wilt, or to keeping quality of the fruit. The fruits are, as I said earlier, you can transport the fruits thousands of kilometers. You can keep them on the shelf 21 days. So with this in mind, the grower is able to save a lot, and this money is going into other things that the grower is doing, like taking the kid to school, if he's selling this product. And when you go to the market, usually from the survey again, 92% of the growers appreciate that when you go to the market with Ansal, you are going to sell first grade fruit. So you are the first one on the market, and with that, you are getting premium price. With the premium A price, you are able to get premium money to do your business and invest in other things. So this is an impact that we have seen with the Ansal variety, and we really appreciate that was a solution, a blockbuster that we brought to the market. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Collins. Tibu, I'd like to talk a little bit about the initiatives that you're running with cattle ranchers as well. And could you tell us a bit about the broader impact of the DKsilos initiative on cattle ranchers affected by climate change?
Of course, thank you for the question. So in order to understand the impact of the climate change, we need to understand the impacts that the ranchers are having. So for instance, during the dry season, I already explained, they don't have enough feed to feed the animals. So the production of milk reduces by 50%. So they normally are producing 8 liters per day, and during dry season, they goes to 4 liters per day, reducing their income. But the other additional impact is that the animal loss of weight. Typically, in a dry season, the animals lose around 90 kilos per cow, which is a huge loss in weight for the animal. That means that the animal is not well fed, it is not very healthy, so they are more impacted by diseases, and they have less fertility, because once the cow is not well fed, they won't produce steer. No? They won't get fertility rates to keep producing more steers. So that don't have the impacts. The good news is that with doing the system of the DKsilos being prepared for the dry season, they can revert all these effects. No, they can maintain the milk production across the year, so they will produce in the same level of milk. They can also increase the quality of milk because they have more fat content, which is premium by the industry. They avoid the weight of loss. They maintain fertility rates. They improve the health of the animals, and they reduce the interval between births. So at the end, there are many factors that are being addressed with this solution to avoid the impacts of the climate change or the climate impact in their herds. Let me share with you that because of the study that we make with the 60 decibels, we have learned that around 76% of the cattle ranchers feel better prepared for future climate shocks, which is a very hard data that we didn't know before until we run the study. And that's why we are now working with this third-party company to have more hard data and more information that can help us to create more value for the ranchers and to adapt our solutions to every single place that we are going. Today, we are present in 8 countries across Latin America. We started in Mexico, and we have expanded the project to Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, and Dominican Republic. And I think we are helping the ranchers to be better prepared for future climate shocks, and we are working along with them in order to help them to be more productive and generate more incomes.
Thank you, Tibu. Tibu, tell us a bit about how these initiatives have improved the quality of dairy products and also reduced stress for the ranchers.
Okay, I think I already mentioned something, but I can give you some hard data that we have get from the studios. No, so today ranchers can sustain milk production during the season, avoiding the decline of that I already mentioned. Silage has a higher nutritional content than the bale of grass, so that giving a more nutritional content at a reduced price. So they are reducing the cost of feeding the cows. 94% of the ranchers have reported an improvement on the cattle health, and primarily they have witnessed the better weight and milk quality. They have positive effects on feed expenses, as I already mentioned, and milk production. 86% of the ranchers have declared that they have better income from dairy farming. 80% confirm that they have improved quality of life based on higher income, healthier livestock, and reduced stress. Almost 60% of them have reported less livelihood stress, because the solution provides help in a holistic way to have a better business with the dairy farming. And around 70% of them have increased more confidence to keep investing into cattle farming, primarily due to the useful advice from the DKsilos and technical advisors and all the help that we are providing with them. The other thing we're doing is we have create some alliances along the value chain. So today we're working in different countries with the milk processors. They are also the benefit because they have a more stabilized supply of milk. And now the companies are willing to finance the ranchers in order to have the right inputs, the technical advisory, and all technical support from the DKsilos in order to continue growing their business. The other thing that we are also impacting is that listening to the ranchers, today we have incorporated a group of veterinarians in our team, so we can provide with the ranchers to more opportunities and more helping to tackle the diseases that they are facing in a better way. So, as I mentioned before, it's a holistic solution in creating value for the ranchers across the region.
Thank you so much, Tibu, for that. And thanks all for sharing your perspectives. Well, I have perhaps one last question for you. I mean, it was very interesting to understand the kind of impact you've been creating. What's your plan going forward to continue to impact smallholder farmers?
Well, that's a very good question. I think that opportunity is huge. I mean, the needs around smallholder farmers are humongous. As we discussed at the beginning, there are 550 million smallholder farmers around the world. I think we have to expand these projects and to continue growing because the need is there. No? So the problem is there. There are still many smallholder farmers, millions of them, needing help, needing support, needing advice, needing machinery, and needing different alternatives to help them to be more productive, more profitable, and have a better way of life. I think that examples like the one we have discussed today are still in early phases. I think we can expand this in the different countries, in more quantity, in different locations. There are, as I mentioned, many smallholder farmers that needs the help. The other thing is that today, at a global scale, we have reached, until last year, 53 million smallholder farmers. And as I mentioned before, our commitment is to reach 100 million by the year 2030. So we are halfway, no? So we still have a long way to go, and we still need to continue expanding these projects, these opportunities. As I mentioned, the market is there, the ranches are there, the farmers are there, and it's on us, and it will depend on how creative, smart, and collaborative we are with them in order to expand this reach and to create more business models that at the end will benefit the smallholder farmers. We firmly believe that when a smallholder farmer wins, everybody wins. So that's why we are devoted to this in this team and an expanded team within the company.
I think that's really well said, Tibu. Thank you so much, folks, Tibu, Ravi, and Collins, for sharing your perspectives today. I think our conversation today has really highlighted Bayer's extraordinary commitment to empowering smallholder farmers through the three initiatives you spoke about: Better Life Farming, Ansal Tomatoes, and DKsilos. So thank you all for listening in to this very special episode. Please stay tuned in for more impactful stories on Disruption Dialogues. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to know how you can navigate and thrive in this disruptive era, subscribe to Disruption Dialogues on your go-to podcast channels and stay tuned for more interesting episodes.